Hi everybody, it's Alexa here from Once Upon a Chapter. I am here today to film my April to be read pile. So I already filmed this video a couple days ago and I had decided on some books, and it was kind of like on a whim that I decided on those books. I just did it really quickly because I thought I needed to just film a video and get it out of the way. But now that I'm thinking about it, I didn't really maybe want to read the books in that pile, that initial pile that I picked before. So I'm going to modify it a little bit. I'm going to pick maybe some different books and some books that I did have in that pile. So let's just get started on what I hope to read this month. Reading has just seemed really bad for me in 2015. I've only managed to read, I think 12 or 13 books since the year started, which is really bad. It means I'm only reading, 4-ish books a month, which in some people's opinion that's great, and that's, what they have time to get to. But I want to be reading a little bit more than that. Unfortunately, my job keeps me very busy, so we'll see if that actually happens or not. So first up is a book that I just got. So I am a huge Black Dagger Brotherhood fan, and I know that this series has kind of been struggling in the past couple releases of these books, but I still really like the characters and I'm just a sucker for this world. And there are some great points that I feel are still in each book. I don't love the newer books as much as I love the original 6 books, but that's what you get. So this is The Shadows, which is book 13. I'm not sure if this will be the last one. It seems kind of like, kind of cool to end on book 13, but I don't think this will be the end of the series. But this kind of focuses on 2 people who are not really part of the Brotherhood. So we'll see how it goes. Although I do think that the inside cover for this one is very pretty and has this nice, probably can't tell, it looks kind of blackish there, but it's actually like a purple color. There's just not enough light to tell, I guess. So yeah, but this is a chunker of a book. This is, this is one of the thicker hardcovers, that have the really tall pages, and it's almost 600 pages long. So I always like to kind of take time to enjoy my newest J.R. Ward book, so this one may be one that I read here and there throughout the whole month. It may be something that I don't even finish this month and carry on into next month. So we'll see how that goes. I have been wanting to get into some more of my series again and kind of catch up. I mean, I have a whole shelf. Actually, way over here is kind of like a shelf of books that I have yet to read that are part of a series that I've started but not finished. If I were to talk about series that I own that I haven't even started yet, that would take forever. So, Siege and Storm, which is the second book in the Smoke and Bone, like Daughter of Smoke and Bone, but it's Shadow and Bone was the first book. I highly enjoyed the first book. I didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I did. I think I rated it about a 4.5. So I'm hoping that the world gets even better and more involved in this book, and I really want to know more about the Darkling and the magic in this book. And I recently read a book that I felt was a lot like Shadow and Bone, and I had to put that book down because to me it just wasn't, it wasn't even the same, it couldn't even compare. So if I thought it couldn't compare, I definitely need to catch up on this series. So that's that. Next up is kind of like a reread for me. I'm going to reread a book in order to read another book in the series type of thing. We'll see if I actually end up rereading this or not, just because, it's kind of a hefty book, but it is, I have a really old edition of this, but it is Kissed by an Angel. This is a bind up of the first 3 books, which Kissed by an Angel has kind of always been a bind up to most people. Most people are used to the black cover that has like the psychedelic like rose on the front cover of it, like a rose in bloom or something. I bought this book way before that cover even existed, and I have loved this book for a long time. It's a book that I first read, I think, when I was a freshman in high school, which was, almost 10 years ago now. And it was a book that that was more than 10 years ago. I was a freshman in high school in 2004. I may have even read it right before that. So yeah, it's 2015. So yeah, at least 10 years since I first picked up this book. And I've read this book, I think, about 3 times I've read the book. And then I've skimmed here and there my favorite parts over the years. But it has been a couple years since I actually sat down and read this entire book. So like I said, this is a chunker, and it's hard to say what the page count is because they just do each book's page count. So each book in here is like 200 to 300 pages, and they've binded them all together to make like a 600 or 700 page book. But the reason I'd like to reread this is because, you know, the author finally made a decision a little while ago to kind of continue writing on with the series. And she has published now like 3 books or so extra in this series. So Evercross is the 4th book in the series, or, you know, right after Kissed by an Angel. So I've had this on my shelf for a long time because I always wanted to continue on with the series, but I never got a chance to do it. So actually on the back cover here they have, that's the Kissed by an Angel, the newer cover with the rose, like I said. So I really want to read this, and then if I enjoy this one, there's 2 other ones that are now out that I could pick up as well and just continue on with this world, because I loved Kissed by an Angel. It's one of my favorite books. So why I never read the continuation of it, I don't know. I guess because the continuation happened so much later. Like, the author decided like 15 or so years later to continue the series. So I'm thinking that maybe the continuation is not going to be as good. I don't know. I hope it's as good because I really like the first set of the series. Next book I'd like to read is, again, another book where I'm trying to get caught up with this series. It's a very popular series that many people have read, and it is the 4th book in the Vampire Academy series, which is called Blood Promise. I guess a lot of people really were shocked, you know, when they initially read this series with the 3rd book. And I don't know, the 3rd book was good for me, but it didn't really wow me, and none of the books in this series have wowed me. I think I've always rated them like a 4 or a 4.5. I think they're good books, and I think the storyline is good, but I'm waiting for like a wow moment in this series. And I feel like with Rochelle Mead's books, anything of hers that I've read some of her adult books too, I'm always waiting for like a wow moment from her, so I'm still waiting on my wow moment in this series. So, like I said, I really like the series. I think it's a good series, even a great series. Is it my favorite series ever? No. Would it make my favorite top 5 series? No. So, you know, I don't know. I guess I've just kind of been slowly working my way through Vampire Academy because I like it, and I think it's a good read every time I do sit down to read them. They just don't highly impress me. But anyway, here's Blood Promise, so I do want to read this, see what happens. I think at this point I'm a little bit more interested in some of the secondary characters in this series instead of Rose and Dimitri, because I feel like it's just a little right now. And then next up, I have another author that I have loved for a long time, and I went through a period of my life where I was reading absolutely everything that she wrote, and in the past like year or two I kind of slowed down on reading her books, and I haven't read her most recent ones, but I do really want to read this one because I was super excited to get a copy of this at ALA. So it is Saint Anything by Sarah Dessen. This one's publishing in May, so if I read it here in April I can get my review up, because I think it's supposed to come out like May 5th or 2nd or something like that. The back cover says May 5th, so if I read this in April, I can have the review up late April, early May, and it'd be perfect time for it coming out for the rest of you to read. So I don't know. I've always loved Sarah Dessen. She's the queen of contemporary YA books in my mind. Always has been, always will be. I know a lot of people, you know, talk about John Green being great in contemporary, or even Gil Forman, or, you know, any of the other, Stephanie Perkins, but Sarah Dessen always will keep that spot in my mind and in my heart, so I really want to read this one. Next up, I do have a library book that a lot of people on BookTube have been raving about. I don't know, for some reason I'm a book blogger, and I started as a book blogger, but I have been obsessed with BookTube lately, and this is a book highly talked about on BookTube. It is A Darker Shade of Magic. It's kind of like a fantasy, like, adventure story. It's about a guy who can travel between 4 different Londons. There's like a London that has no magic in it whatsoever. It's more of like a historical London period with like a king, I think, and then there is a London that he can travel to that's like chocked full of magic, and then there's another London where magic has like corrupted London, and these people have to like fight using magic to like save what they do have, so it's like darker magic. And then the other London, I think, is a London that people aren't even really supposed to be able to go to anymore. It's kind of like a London that you don't want to travel to anymore. But anyway, a lot of people have been raving about this. This is actually a YA author who more recently has been writing adult fantasy books, or, you know, urban fantasy, whatever you want to call this. And so I'm really intrigued to read this one. So yes, that is plenty of books on my pile. I have you know, I have about 5 books. If I do decide to reread Kissed by an Angel before I jump into that, so yeah, I have actually, you know, I have 6 books, and if I decide to reread Kissed by an Angel, I'll have 7. I was like not counting this one that I just put on the pile. I don't know. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. If you guys have read any of these books or you have any comments about them, go ahead and just leave all of your information and comments and hellos and whatnot below. So thanks for watching, guys. Bye.